We start our story with a drone shot. For what better way to establish where we are? And don't almost all movies these days start with a drone shot? Where we are is Las Vegas, New Mexico, established almost 100 years before the gambling mecca by the same name. In its day, it was a prominent trade and cultural center in the Southwest, the biggest city in New Mexico territory, home to a grand opera, grand hotels, a synagogue, banks, streetcars, and was one of the first cities in the country with telephone service. The Santa Fe Railway came here in 1879, and as Las Vegas became the biggest new town on the railroad, historian Howard Bryan says it quickly became the wildest.
The lawless history of Las Vegas, New Mexico, has long been one of the best-kept secrets in the history of the western frontier, surpassing Tombstone, Deadwood, and Dodge City in violence. For example, Dodge City, Kansas, often regarded as one of the most violent towns in the West, recorded only 6 or 8 killings during its heyday in 1878. Las Vegas, on the other hand, recorded nearly 30 killings during a 30-day period in 1880, its heyday.
The strange thing is that despite all that violence, Las Vegas, New Mexico is now known as one of the friendliest towns in the West, the sort of place where strangers will help out strangers without question, and where diversity is welcomed. It's also a big TV and movie location, and home to 3 busy colleges. Visiting here, you'd probably never guess its violent history, and maybe that's just as well. As the camera lingers on certain scenes about town, as our eyes rest on pleasant sights in the countryside, let the history roll, as written by the late Howard Bryan in his book, Wildest of the Wild West. The images you'll see mostly don't reflect the characters and locations you're hearing about in these stories, but again, are simply to remind us that a dark and tangled history can lurk behind every corner of our little town. Or yours. Found her guilty of murder in the first degree, and on March 28, 1861, Judge Benedict sentenced her to be hanged by the neck until dead on Friday, April 26, 1861, between the hours of 10 o'clock in the forenoon and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. In addition, it is said, the judge ordered the woman to pay the entire cost of the action, up to and including the hanging. Antonio Abad Herrera, sheriff of San Miguel County, was ordered to take the condemned woman to a suitable place within the town of Las Vegas and within 1 mile of the church and carry out the sentence. Paula's attorney, Spruce M. Baird, asked permission to appeal the verdict, and Judge Benedict granted the appeal but ordered that the appeal should in no manner operate as a stay of execution. Sheriff Herrera apparently relished the idea of hanging Paula Angel. It is said he taunted and tormented his prisoner during the month between her conviction and the date of her execution, reminding her each day that she had one less day to live. A large crowd consisting of spectators from miles around gathered in a cottonwood grove at the northeast edge of town on April 26th to witness the hanging of Paula Angel. Sheriff Herrera arrived on the scene driving a wagon. His prisoner, pale and trembling, was seated on her coffin in the back. The sheriff halted the wagon directly beneath a hangman's noose that was dangling from the limb of one of the large cottonwood trees. As the crowd watched silently, the sheriff stood Paula in the wagon bed, placed a noose around her neck, and whipped the wagon team away, leaving her hanging in midair. The sheriff had neglected to tie her arms, however, and she grabbed the rope above her head and tried frantically to pull herself upwards from the strangling noose. Horrified, the sheriff ran to the dangling woman, grabbed her around her waist, and tried to pull her downward to her death. The crowd rushed in, pushed the sheriff away, and cut the gasping woman down, protesting that she had been hanged and that the sentence of the court had been carried out. During the shouting and confusion, Jose D. Sena, a prominent Santa Fe citizen, climbed up on the wagon, calmed the crowd, and read to them the warrant of execution, stressing that it stated that the woman was to be hanged by the neck until dead by 4 o'clock that day, and that she was not dead, and that it was not yet 4 o'clock. Once again, Paula